We implemented a new timeline feature to the right there. So if Jimmy clicks on these other dates, you can go back in time and look at how the terrain and the vegetation has changed. Super helpful whenever you're scouting in mountain country and you're looking to age certain cuts to see how old they are. When you're doing variable analysis on any target, you're trying to understand the 5 W's of the movement. And one of the things that deer use they use transition areas as kind of like roads, I would guess. Of course, the deer don't answer the questionnaires, so it's difficult to say why they use transition, but they seem to use transition and I think it's because they can recognize routes and see it. So when you're using something like the UAV imagery, which doesn't cover all of the US, but now we've identified some more sources, so we're gonna get more of this time-lapse data that goes back in the past. And what you're able to do is when imagery is taken certain times of the year, you can see these transitions from above. And you can, when you combine that with, high-resolution topographic maps, you can now, what I do is I draw those lines and I look at all of this transition, and then I go to the topo or I go to the LiDAR, and now I'm looking at where the benches are. And you're doing all of that digital scouting beforehand. And I think that, for me, it's not even necessarily the resolution. Sure, the resolution of the UAV layer is great. And it's awesome to be able to actually zoom in and see deer on the ground. Again, to me, that's that variable analysis that I talked about before, and trying to look at a problem set from as many places as possible. And then if you're arriving at the same conclusion when you do that, then you have something good going on.
What we focus on for the map in general is just responsiveness. There's a lot that goes into presenting this data in a way that is not confusing and straightforward and easy to use. And it's all mostly UI based. I mean, the technology behind the maps is well known. Everybody is familiar with like Google Earth and typical map. We don't do anything different there. What we are doing is making sure it's presented in a way that users can easily use it for their particular problem set. In this case, e-scouting or navigating the woods.
Yep, but also the way that we architected this, it loads up really nice. I think when you use other mapping programs or even one from back in the day, the ways that tiles render and the way that it looks on the screen and the amount of time that it takes to present this data, it doesn't seem obvious, but once you've used something that's engineered well, and then you regress back to using something else, then you start to notice those things. What we try to do, there's 2 problems that we're tackling with Spartan Forge right now is, as I said before, we're trying to present the data in a way for people so that you don't have to interact with the application as much to get out of it what they need. But what that requires from the user is some retraining. So we're kind of going through those pangs right now because they've been educated, for the past 15 years by other applications where they, were forced to use it because it was the only one on the market. So they fell into, forcing themselves to learn these things. And now what we're trying to do is present a new way so they can get through the data very quickly.
There's a fine line there. Yes. Between what they know and new things new ways we want to show this information to people. We believe that we'll be able to pull people along with our approach and our presentation.
Yeah, and keep presenting them features that are different, that will interest them, that will incentivize them in the same way. For the incentivization on these other programs where it's the only one, so I need to learn it. But now we hope the incentive will be the data, the LiDAR data, the UAV imagery, the slope angle shading, the shaded relief, the LiDAR layer, the 3D maps are now incentivizing me to learn this new way because this isn't something that's being presented anywhere else.